On today's podcast, we're diving a tad deeper into this idea of positive accountability to reframe the concept and think about what it means to practice reciprocal accountability. Relationships, teams, organizations that see their agreement with each other as a two-way street where all involved own the outcome. I'll explain. Hope you'll listen in and we'll dive a little deeper. Welcome back to The Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everybody, it's Jason and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast. Wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today, welcome in. So glad you are here. We're in season 9, well over 275 episodes now. So to the OGs that have been with us from the very beginning, so glad this continues to add value to your life and to your work. I'm so glad this continues to kind of fuel you in some great ways. And for anybody that's new to the podcast, welcome in. So glad you are here. I invite you to Google my name, Jason Barger, and any topic around leadership, culture, mission, vision, values, team, communication, whatever, trust, whatever is interesting to you. And chances are you're going to find an episode from those 275 that hopefully resonates with you. My commitment to you, to the listener, every time I gather to do one of these podcasts is I want this to be a time for you to step back in your own life, step back to hopefully have some good oxygen breathed into you, to help you think about some of these interesting topics that hopefully help you think about the temperature that you're trying to set in your life and your work. And I hope it adds value to you. That's the whole point of doing this. And my hope is that it reaches near and far. So before we dive into today's topic, if you'll do me the quick favor, if you will rate the podcast 5 stars, you got to keep telling people to do that. And again, if you haven't done it, I just invite you, please rate it 5 stars on whatever platform or all the platforms that you listen to this on. If you'll subscribe to the podcast, if you'll leave an authentic review in your own words, that's one of the ways the algorithms really work, is they see, authentic reviews from people. So if you were willing to do that helps it reach more people. And then lastly, every time you share the podcast, so whether that's on social media or shooting an episode to your team or colleagues or people across your organization, say, hey, here's a topic we ought to listen to and talk about together. Those are all the ways in which these episodes in this content spreads. And the whole point is for it to have a positive impact in the world. And we are in a very noisy world. So my hope is that these messages add value in some ways. So thanks for everybody that takes the time to help amplify these messages. I've gotten great feedback lately about the topic of accountability. It appears that I'm not alone in my feelings about this word accountability, that everyone desperately says they want it. Every team and organization I go into, everybody talks about we need greater accountability. Yet also, it has this kind of visceral negative feeling about whenever they hear the word accountability, and this seems to be resonating with a lot of people. This topic, the reason why I'm following up to do another episode to build upon a recent one that I did just recently, is because in this very low trusting environment that you've heard me talking about, where Gallup tells us we're in only 23% of employees trust their leadership in their organization. We're in this very low trusting environment, and so this idea and what I keep hearing from teams and organizations is greater definition and greater ownership over this word accountability. And everybody seems to be wanting to grow greater accountability within their team and their organization. So you might remember that on a recent podcast, I outlined this idea and what I deem to be the true definition of the word accountability, as I described in the episode I did called Positive Accountability. I'm not wanting to recreate that entire episode, so please go back and listen to that one. It's just a few episodes ago here in season 9. But because I had so many positive comments and reactions to this topic, I wanted to spend a short few extra minutes diving a little deeper. And so the quick refresher to those of you jumping into this conversation within our teams and organizations, we've unfortunately used the word accountability in ways that has taken on a negative connotation. We seem to only talk about it when we're going to, quote, hold someone accountable. Well, on the episode about positive accountability, we focused on the fact that we are often more accountable to each other than we are less accountable. The problem is we don't often celebrate, acknowledge, or recognize all the ways in which we are accountable to one another. So it leaves us to feel that accountability is only about when we don't do what we're supposed to do. And that really isn't the true definition or spirit of the word accountability. In fact, the real definition is it's a two-way street. So, on today's podcast, we're diving a tad deeper into this idea of positive accountability to reframe the concept and think about what it means to practice reciprocal accountability. Relationships, teams, organizations that see their agreement with each other as a two-way street where all involved own the outcome. I'll explain. Hope you'll listen in and we'll dive a little deeper. But before we dive deeper, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually, with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. So, as I identified, accountability is in fact a positive thing. And when leaders, teams, humans in general begin to acknowledge all the ways we are accountable to each other, in a positive sense, we actually earn the right to have more courageous conversations about the things we need to improve. Accountability is squarely in the middle of both, the positive things we want to continue and the negative or opportunity that we see to change and develop. You may also remember me referencing the 5-to-1 ratio from the Gottman Institute in Seattle. Their research has found that healthy and thriving relationships and teams have a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative interaction. Simply put, they catch each other doing things well and acknowledge them, and therefore earn the right to have the courageous conversation about the one thing when it's needed. In unhealthy or toxic relationships and teams, their research shows that those types of relationships or teams have a 0.8-to-1 ratio. Again, simply put, more negative interactions than positive. These cultures are filled with nitpickers, micromanagers, and people who are fixated on all the things that aren't working rather than appreciating what is working. And the research is also clear on these types of relationship cultures. And the research says that they fail. So they blow up. They become divided and disengaged. And the 5-to-1 positive ratio cultures relationships end up thriving and tend to be in it for the long haul. So it leads us into this idea of reciprocal accountability. Reciprocal, as Webster defines it, means done, given, or felt equally by both sides, related to each other in such a way that one completes the other or is the equal of the other. Let me say that definition again of reciprocal. Done, given, or felt equally by both sides, related to each other in such a way that one completes the other or is the equal of the other. I love this poetic idea that one completes the other. And in a romantic relationship or family or close friend, in those kind of relationships, it seems beautiful and very much, that very much resonates with me, that one kind of completes the other. We are better and more complete because of the relationship, the contribution we both make to each other. In a work or workplace environment or culture, I can see how those words may seem poetic, but not always attainable. We know the power structures that often exist within teams and organizations that often are part of the reason that create the construct of the negative connotation with the word accountability. Still, this idea of reciprocal accountability, that we could approach our work in agreement with each other out of a spirit of equality, and that both sides are owners in the outcome, I think is a powerful concept, and in fact, more in alignment of what the real definition of the word accountability is. It puts more ownership on the leader to coach, develop, listen, so that they are giving equally to the person they have asked something of. From the employee or teammate standpoint, it puts more ownership on the idea of asking good questions, seeking clarity of expectations, and sharing their point of view rather than just listening and taking somebody's orders. This kind of reciprocal accountability would require a spirit that our relationship and work together is, in fact, a two-way street. It isn't a one-way transactional, you do what I say approach, but it's a collective, a collaborative sharing of gifts and perspectives and division of labor in a way where one completes the other. Both or all involved have ownership over the outcome. So as I think about this idea of reciprocal accountability, I think about some ways we could practice this approach and spirit so that it truly feels like a two-way street. The best practices that I see the best leaders putting into place related to this idea are, 1, a posture of listening. It isn't just about barking orders, but it's actually listening to each other and taking that posture of listening with the people they collaborate and coach and develop. I see they clarify the vision. They take time to clarify the vision, the expectations for what is being done, or what they are pursuing together. They identify roles. So they pause to make sure each and every person involved knows their role in the project or pursuit, because there are different roles we all play. Even though we all share in the outcome, we have different roles to play. But we got to make sure that we have a same vision and mission, but complementary roles. The best practice also is that they have check-ins regularly. They have check-ins. They create rest stops along the journey to check in with each other on progress and make any necessary adjustments to their game plan. And lastly, they debrief. Once a project is complete or sometimes still in progress, but what they've experienced, when they've experienced a pivotal point, they huddle to debrief what went well. Again, think of that 5-to-1 ratio. What are the positive things we need to catch ourselves doing? And then acknowledge what could they do differently and better next time. They both take ownership over the outcome, and every time they practice this kind of thinking and approach, it anchors in their relationship and team culture that accountability is reciprocal. We all play a role in it. We are ambassadors for the life and cultures that we want to create together. We get to make them transformational for others rather than just that kind of transactional relationship that you've heard me talk about in past episodes. Accountability isn't negative. In fact, it's a very positive thing. And it's reciprocal. We all own a piece of it, and each of us makes the process complete, but by what we uniquely bring to it. We all make the process complete by what we uniquely bring to it. So as always, let me leave us with a couple of questions to ponder for this topic. How would your team define accountability? Have you had that conversation, and how would your team define accountability? How could you establish this kind of reciprocal accountability in your relationships or on your team and model and show that for others? And how could you practice that 5-to-1 ratio? Who is it that you need to celebrate? What good things that are happening do you need to acknowledge and breathe oxygen into? So how could you practice that 5-to-1 ratio? I hope today's episode got you thinking in some ways. I hope it breathed a little good oxygen into you and helped you think about the temperature you're trying to set in your life and your work. Cheers to you and cheers to your path ahead. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode and it got you thinking. If you have any thoughts, feedback, questions, or if we can be helpful to the development of your people, your team, your culture, I hope you'll track us down, info@jasonvbarger.com, over email, info@jasonvbarger.com, or you can just go to the jasonvbarger.com website and leave us a message, and we'll be in touch if there's a way that we could better support you or your team along the way. Thanks for everybody that takes the time again to subscribe, rate, review in your own authentic words, and then also share these episodes with the people in your life and your work. That's how these messages are amplified, and I appreciate everybody that does that. And the last thing I'll just remind us all of is to step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.